Hashem svasai tivtach l'pia kitzel asacha. We're now in the 18th Perek of Yehoshua. In this Perek, Pasuk Aleph is so significant. Let's read it together. V'kalu kol adas b'nei Yisrael Shiloh. All of the b'nei Yisrael gathered as a kahal, as a united front in Shiloh. Vayishkinu sham es Oel Moed, and that is where they placed the Oel Moed in Shiloh. Now the Oel Moed is going to look different. It has stone walls and a curtain top. Ba'aretz nichbasha lifneihem, and the land is nichbasha lifneihem. What does that mean? So the land becomes, so this is a three-part of what Hashem expects and wants from us. First, achdus, unity. If the Bnei Yisrael can come together in achdus, then Hashem will dwell amongst us, and we know that the Mishkan is from the word shachin, neighbors. Hashem will be neighbors. He will be close to us. And that's exactly what happened when the Bnei Yisrael gathered together as a united front. Then Hashem reigned supreme down and joined us in Shiloh. Shiloh was going to be where the Mishkan is going to remain for 369 years. Shiloh, it had left Gilgal. Shiloh, as long as it was in Shiloh, there was no bamos that were allowed, which means that no one was able to give a korban or do any sort of personal sacrifice because you had to go to Shiloh. Shiloh had this status in many ways like the Beis HaMikdash. And as a result, the Shekhinah, Hashem's presence, was there, here with us. And as a result of that, the Aretz was easier to conquer, because Hashem promises, if you do what I ask you to do, and you come together and you follow in the way of Hashem b'shalom, then it works out. It's amazing. Now it's easier for them to conquer it. Okay, so then, but what had happened? There were seven shvatim, asher lo chalku, that had not already divvied up their land. Now, why is that? Why would they wait? Why are they dilly-dallying? So the answer is because the Shvatim, those seven, were very concerned. And they said, listen, as soon as a Shevet gets his portion and conquers his land, then that Shevet's out. So what's going to happen to subsequent Shvatim? We're all going to be at a disadvantage. So there was a standstill because people were worried that, what's going to happen? So, but Yehoshua says to them, Ad ana atem meripim lavo lareshet ha'aretz. Remember, the status of Eretz Yisrael does not take on its fullest form until you divvy out the land. So until when? You stop this. Start working at this again. And he says, you don't understand. Do you not get it? You don't have to worry. There's a Mishkan. The Shekhinah is there. As long as you are all doing L'shem Shamayim, Hashem is the one who ultimately is will make somebody successful. You don't have to worry. And so what does he tell him to do? Havu lachem, take for yourselves shlosha anashim, 3 people, lashevet, of each shevet. And you're going to go out. You're going to scout out the land. You're going to write down all of what you need to know about the land that has not yet been conquered. And then you're going to give me that information. 3, this reminds us of the Meraglim again. Remember the Meraglim? But he did it a little differently. Instead of 1 per shevet, he takes 3. Because maybe it'll work better, that the 3 together are going to be a lot more functional than just 1. Or the 3 people represent a Beis Din. A court, a Jewish court, can never have, in the Beis Din, it has to have at least 3. So this will work out really well. And so, he's suggesting the 3 for a good reason. Now, you're going to then, what does this mean? You're going to write it down, and then you're going to and bring it to me. Well, remember, they all had, they had all of their information from Moshe and from Yaakov as to what areas would be best for them. You guys are merchants, you're going to need close to the sea. You guys are the teachers. You're going to need to be spread out all over. So they already had an idea in their head and all written down exactly about what their land was supposed to look like. And so now you're going to take that information, you're going to go scout out, you're going to draw out exactly, map it out what this land looks like. And then the Goral, the lottery will confirm what we already know to be true, that yes, you're in exactly the right area for yourselves. And then in Pasuk Hey, V'hitzchalku osa, and it will be divided up l'shiva chalakim into 7 different portions. It's going to be great. But Yehuda's going to remain at his border, and all of the people that already got their part, all the Bnei Yosef are going to be with their border. Remember, we have the Reuven, Gad, and half of Menashe. Then we have the other Menashe, and we know for sure that out of all the lands, remember, Levi does not have any part of this inheritance, so they're out, and so it'll be much easier. And that's what the people do. They go, Vayakumu ha'anashim yalchu vayitza, and they do exactly that, and they write everything down. Now, what's interesting is in the pasuk, v'hitzchalku osa l'sheva chalakim, and it will divide itself into 7 portions, which again highlight what we know to be true, which is the land. The land doesn't need the scouting out, and the land doesn't even need the dividing out. With the land knows what to do because it's from Hashem. It will divide itself. You just do your hishtadlus, do your effort, continue on your merry way, and ultimately everything will be divided out exactly because Hashem always gives us exactly what we need. And so here too, just don't worry, but do exactly, return to me, and then we'll have the Goral and everything will be good. So that's exactly what they do. They write down everything. They compare their notes with what they know to be true, with what they're supposed to get, and they bring this all to Yehoshua, who's in Shiloh. Vayishlach lahem Yehoshua Goral. He makes a Goral. He divides it up. And who is the first person? Who's the first shevet that's going to be divided up? Binyamin, to get their portion. Why Binyamin? Well, we know. So Binyamin was the holiest. He didn't do any averos. We know that Binyamin had 2 names. He had Ben Oni and Binyamin. And we know that he was so beloved and that he loved Yosef so much that when Yosef died, when he thought that Yosef was dead, he named all of his 10 sons after Binyamin. But most importantly, out of all of that, there's something very special about Binyamin, and that was all Binyamin wanted was a little portion of the Beis HaMikdash. And when it got divided up and it was going to be in the Shevet of Yehuda, Binyamin was crushed. He kept asking and asking, please, just a little piece, a little piece, a little piece. And so the borders of Yehuda and Binyamin are all fakakt. They're all messed up because Hashem said, you care so much, no problem. And he gave Binyamin part of where the Beis HaMikdash is. And so we know that the Beis HaMikdash is in the Shevet of Yehuda, but remember there was that part that is only in the Shevet of Binyamin. And so Binyamin is in the middle. Above them are Shevet Ephraim. Below them are Yehuda. To the west is Dan, and on the other side is the Yarden. And we know that Binyamin had a very special relationship with Ephraim and Yehuda, right? Binyamin, Ephraim as represented, as representation of Yosef, and Yehuda. Remember, Yehuda said, Anochi eravenu miyadi tevashenu. I am tied into this boy. You take him, you take me. And so he loved and cared so much for Binyamin that they were really one, to the degree when the kingship of Bnei Israel is divided into Yehuda and the rest of the Shvatim, the one shevet that still went along with Yehuda is Binyamin. And so we see that they're very, very connected. We know that Binyamin and Ephraim are very interconnected because remember, when Binyamin sees Yosef after so many years, they cry on each other, Sabarei Binyamin. They cried on the shoulders of each other. Binyamin cried because of Yosef's portion would get Ephraim, which is going to be on Shiloh, on the Mishkan, and and Yosef cried because of the portion, the Beis Hamikdash, the Basei Mikdash that were going to be destroyed. And so there's such close relationships here between Ephraim and Yehuda that it would make sense that the next people that would be chosen as Binyamin. Just as a side note, all of the different lands that were scouted out, they weren't going to be equal in size. They were going to be equal that everybody got exactly what they needed, and the equal in A, that the land would be just as valuable. So each one got the same in value. But if there was a larger shevet, or there was a shevet that needed certain resources, every shevet got exactly what they needed to fill the tafkid of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And so the rest of the parak goes through and delineates all of what Binyamin got. The word kesef, like ketef, is written, and that highlights what we know to be true, which we know, bein knafayim shachin, that the Beis Hamikdash was going to be in the area between the shoulders. That is the area of Binyamin. When it is referencing to shoulders, that's what it's referring to. And we have here that they have many places. They have 26, I believe, cities, which highlights Yud Kei Vav Kei, which is the name of the same gematria of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the name. And so what we have here is the rest of their portion, which is the portion only of Binyamin. And that's how we end the Perek. And what's interesting is that the next Perek is going to finish up all the delineations for the other 5 Shvatim, so that we get to the end. And like we said, it's the Bnei Israel. They stop what they were doing because. Perhaps out of fear, or perhaps they understood that as soon as somebody gets their portion, they might not be part of the group anymore. And they loved the Achdus, that they weren't willing to give up on it. But Hashem, Yehoshua was saying, no, you don't understand. There could be so much more Achdus. Once Eretz Yisrael, and all of you guys, you will have Eretz Yisrael, will have Bnei Yisrael, and we'll have the Shekhinah, all together. That's a trifecta that it's the best that you possibly could get. And so Yehoshua had to highlight what we know to be true, which is in Achdus, in Eretz Yisrael, and with the Shekhinah, there is the ultimate protection. Mir Hashem b'mehera b'yameinu.